Hello there and welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to show you how to create automatic rotation slides with directions and timers for you to display during small groups with your students so that they run on their own without you having to click anything. That way your students know what to do, they can stay on track, and it will save you so much time.
Save myself 90 seconds.
So grab a device and get ready to follow along. I'm going to show you a few different options in this video because I know teachers all have different preferences. I'm going to start with what I personally prefer, which is having a slide with all of the centers and rotations. Then it switches to a cleanup slide when it's time for students to transition from one rotation to the next. Then it goes back to the slide with all of the different rotations and directions, back to a cleanup slide, so on and so forth. But I will also show you how to have just one singular slide. So if you don't need those cleanup slides, you can have just one slide that will run continuously with a resetting timer, as well as having multiple slides. Maybe you only want to display one center or one rotation at a time, but you don't have that cleanup slide in between. So if the first option that I show you doesn't work, just stay tuned because I've got a few other ideas. The first thing we are going to do is design the slideshow. So within Canva, we want to create just a blank presentation. You can choose between either the 16:9 ratio or the 4:3 ratio. I personally am going to use the 16:9. I'm going to click on blank. I'm going to show you step by step how to create this, but along the way, if you're like, Michelle, that's too much, don't worry. I actually have a set of pre-made templates for Canva that you can purchase in my TPT store. So I will link that for you down below if you are interested and want to save a little bit of time. But as I mentioned, I'm going to walk you through how to create them on your own if you want to save a little money. I'm going to create two different types of slides. I'm going to create my centers rotation slide, and I'm going to create my cleanup slide. Now, I'm just doing this from scratch, but keep in mind, Canva has tons of templates that you can choose from if you would prefer. But with this blank slide, the first thing I'm going to do is add in my title. So I'm just going to call this like Math Centers. And I'm going to put this like right up near the top. And as I am designing these slides, I want to keep in mind that I'm going to be adding in a timer, which is going to be a video file. Yes, Canva does have a built-in timer. So down here, I can show and hide the timer and adjust the time. However, it's not going to play automatically, and it's not going to play on a loop, which is fine, but if you're trying to run centers and maybe you're seated at a back table, ideally, you want this to be something you can display in the front of your classroom and it just runs on its own. It will automatically reset the timer and it will play automatically, and this timer in Canva is not gonna do that. So we're gonna use video files. But as I'm designing these, I just wanna keep that in mind because I don't wanna fill up all of the space. I need to make sure I leave some space for the timer. Let's go ahead and left align this and we'll make it bigger. I don't know, 75? We'll go bigger. Let's go like 125. Okay, that looks pretty good. We'll go ahead and move that up to the top. Now, in order to create those rotations and centers, I'm gonna insert in a table. So under Elements, I'm going to go to Table, and I'm just gonna use this first option. I'm gonna have it fill pretty much the whole slide. So I'm gonna drag it so that it's really, really close to each side. I want it to be right up by the title and then really close to the bottom. I'm gonna go ahead and center it. Okay, now my rows and columns are all messed up. I know my top one is maybe going to be a little bit thinner, and let's have this be like 3 groups, 3 rotations. So my top one is going to be like where I list out my centers. My left one is going to be for my groups. So I need to add a column. I'm going to right click and I want to add column. Let's go ahead and adjust this one where we want it to be. That looks good. I'm going to click the first column, well, it's the second column, but the first one in that section, and hold down Shift and click the last one. That's gonna select all the ones in between. Right click, and I want to size columns equally. And same thing with the rows. I'm gonna click this one, hold down Shift, right click, and I want to size rows equally. Okay, That looks decent. Now, I know that my groups are gonna be by color. I always did my groups by color. So let's have this one be like a pink group, a green, and a blue. So I'm filling those in, and this is gonna be pink group. And then I would list names, so like Dwight, Michael, Angela, and Pam. I'm just doing this as an example. Yes, you should not be surprised, they are office characters. Let's make this a thicker, so like extra bold. And I want the title to be a little bit bigger. And then we'll make all of it. Oh, so now I'm running out of space because it's readjusting. Yeah, okay, that's fine. We'll leave that. Now, if I go in here to table spacing, I can actually turn off the cell spacing, put it all the way down to 0, and now it's gonna let me make that bigger without it resizing the table. That looks good enough. I'm gonna go ahead and copy, and we're gonna paste, oh, nope. We're gonna paste it in that one. And let's go ahead and make it larger. Okay, this one is size 28. 22. This is gonna be green, and let's do Jim, Phyllis, Oscar, and Stanley. And I'm just gonna repeat this for my last group. Okay, now I'm gonna set up my rotation. So up at the top, this is gonna be rotation 1, rotation 2, and rotation 3. I'm gonna select all of those. We'll make it much bigger. And I think I want these to be like a black fill with white text. Okay. Now, in each of the rotations is where I would give them the description of what center they need to be at. So maybe the first one is gonna be meet with the teacher, bring a pencil to the back table. So I can give them directions, tell them where they need to be in the room, all of that good stuff. We're gonna make this bolded, and let's go ahead and make this as big as we can, to kind of fill the space without going over. Okay, that looks decent, and that's gonna be what green group does here. All right, so size 29, we'll make that the same. Paste it here, 29. Okay, then maybe the second rotation is going to be technology. So grab a Chromebook from the cart and work on my path, sure. And let's make this as big as we can. Can we get to the same size? Yeah. So maybe that's what they're gonna do here. Size 29. I gotta double click. I keep just clicking once. You gotta double click in the cell, Michelle. And then maybe the last one is going to be independent work. And grab a worksheet from the pocket, magnetic pocket, on the front whiteboard and complete it. Okay, can we make it size 29? Nope, that's gonna be too big. All right, let's go a little bit smaller. That's fine, size 25, okay. Put those here and put those here. Okay. And obviously you fill it out however you need. This is just an example, but I now have that rotations slide. The next thing I need to do is create a cleanup slide. So we're gonna just duplicate this slide. So I'm clicking the 3 dots, choosing duplicate page, and this is going to say clean up. I don't need this table, so I'm just going to delete it. But I want the cleanup timer to be pretty big, so I'm thinking it's gonna be like filling up most of the slide, but the top can just say clean up. Let's add a trash can. Let's add a little trash can graphic, shall we? That looks beautiful. We're gonna kind of put that on the side. Ooh, actually no, I like this one. Not that it matters whatsoever, but we're gonna just kind of put the trash can here, and then we're gonna add some directions. So let's duplicate this text box. Clean up, no, we don't want capital letters. Clean up your area and get ready for the next rotation. Let's make that much smaller. I want that to fit on one line, so we're just gonna shrink it down. Okay, we'll size it there. No, I want it down a little bit more. Okay, good enough. So now I have designed my slides. The next step is to insert in the timer. Now, as I mentioned, this timer is going to be a video file. Canva actually has some built-in timers. However, they're not very long. So for example, if I type in, if I want like a 10-minute timer, and I come over to videos, they're mostly all like a minute or 30 seconds long. If you look here, you can see the duration. So these are all pretty short. That's obviously not going to be exactly what I need, but if you need a short timer, there you go. Canva's got some. Thankfully, I've already created my own set of video timers. I created these years ago. I have them all the way from 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, and then in increments up to 30. So like 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. I'm going to go to projects, folders, timer videos, and I have them already inserted into Canva. Now, if you're like, Michelle, that's great, but I don't got that. You can if you want to. I have decided to make just my timer video files available in TPT. So you can purchase them as a set. You will get access to all the video files within Google Drive. From there, you can download them as video files and then just insert them into Canva. But if you purchase those pre-made rotation boards that I mentioned, they already have the timer video files inserted for you. So if you want to create your own rotation boards, but you just want the timers, you can purchase those. But if you want everything all together, you can purchase that. Let's say during my math centers, each rotation is going to be for 15 minutes. I'm going to click to insert in this video timer, and I'm gonna go ahead and click pause. Let's resize it. We're gonna shrink it down, and I want this to display like right up here at the top, like so. And I want it to be lined up with the table, so that looks pretty good. And if I wanted to, I could probably even make this text a little bit bigger. I'm not gonna worry about that. So I have that timer right up here in the corner. I also need to insert a timer on the cleanup slide. So I'm gonna come to this one, and let's say I'm just gonna give them 1 minute to clean up. So I'm gonna insert my 1 minute timer here. We'll shrink it down. Okay, pause. And let's put it like there, resize it so it fits by the trash can. Let's move the trash can over a little bit, shall we? I want this to be a little bit bigger. Okay, that looks decent. Now, a little hack I want to show you, maybe instead of a whole minute, you only want to give students like 45 seconds to clean up. If you come up here to the video length, you can actually crop the video and change the length of it. Now, you will notice that at the very end, the last 10 seconds, the timer actually turns red to alert students that it's going to be ending. But if I come up here to the beginning, I can actually just scroll this to be where I want it to start. So if I want it to start at 45 seconds, I have that option. Now I'm going to go ahead and click done. And the last thing I want to check is under the slide duration. So let me hide this timer. I don't need that anymore. I'm going to click on duration, and it's going to show me how long each of the slides is going to display for. So this one is that 49.9 seconds, which is, I cropped it down to 45 seconds, but the timer at the very end kind of hangs out for a few seconds once it gets to 0. And then my Math Centers one, we're going to scroll all the way over, is 15 minutes and 6 seconds, which if I select that timer, that is the full length of that timer, which is exactly what I want. I just want to make sure that the length of the slide matches the length of the timer. Now I'm going to adjust some of the video settings. So with that video clicked, I'm going to select playback, and I want it to play automatically. Now that's already selected, which is great, but if it's not, you wanna make sure that that is toggled on. Same thing for the cleanup slide. So I'm gonna scroll back over. Let's close duration. I'm gonna select that timer, playback, and that is toggled on, which is exactly what I want. Now I'm ready to duplicate my slides to create as many as I need. So if I am going to have, let's go to this grid view. If I'm going to have 3 rotations, then I need this to display 3 different times. So I'm gonna click and drag to select both of them. I'm gonna click the duplicate button, so it's gonna make new copies of them, but I'm gonna click that twice, so now there are 3 copies. Maybe though, on this last cleanup slide, instead of get ready for the next rotation, I'm gonna say return to your seat. Return to your seat. Okay, so now I have first rotation, cleanup, second rotation, cleanup, third rotation, final cleanup, go back to your seats. The next step is now just to present my slides. I'm going to close out of that again. I'm going to select the first slide, choose present, but I wanna make sure that I click on autoplay. That is going to have my slides automatically transition. So once that video is done playing, it will automatically go to the next slide without me having to manually click or tell it to go on. Now, if you don't see that autoplay option, it's probably because you only have 1 slide. You're only gonna see autoplay if there's more than 1 slide. But if I click on autoplay and then select present, you will notice that timer is going to automatically count down. Once that timer ends, it is going to automatically go to the next slide. Now, this is a 15-minute timer, so I'm not gonna sit here for 15 minutes to show you that. But what happens is sometimes people will like scroll on the video, so they'll go like this and go, all right, I'm gonna make it so it's almost gonna go off. Okay, timer is going off, and then they're like, Michelle, how come it's not going to the next slide? Remember, that slide was timed to be just over 15 minutes before it goes to the next one. So it's only going to transition after that 15 minutes is done. But just as another example, let's start with this cleanup slide. We're gonna choose present and autoplay. And we have this for just 45 seconds. So I'm gonna sit here for 45 seconds, let you see that it will automatically go to the next slide without me clicking anything once that timer reaches 0. All right, our timer is reaching 0. And after the ringing is done, it automatically went on to the next slide, and that countdown timer is now playing. Now, I mentioned at the beginning I would show you a few other options. Maybe you don't want a cleanup slide in between. Maybe you just want 1 slide, but you want your timer to play on repeat. I'm gonna go ahead and delete these other slides. Maybe you just want this 1 slide, but you want that timer to keep counting down once it finishes. Click on the timer, come to playback, and choose play on repeat. Now, obviously that will just keep going and going and going. So you wanna make sure after your 3 rotations that your students then know to go back to their seat, or you go up and stop it, whatever floats your boat. But that's a super easy way. You can design 1 slide, insert in a timer, and just have it set on repeat. So once it gets to 0, it will ding, students know to switch, and it will then replay.
Guys, timer still going?
Another option is to actually add an interval timer from YouTube. So I'm gonna delete the timer that I personally have inserted, and I'm going to insert in a video from YouTube. So if I go to apps, you can search for the YouTube app if you haven't already added it in, but I already have it under my apps. If I select YouTube, I could search for interval timer. So for example, 5-minute interval timer. I can find one that I like, so this one will work. I can click, it's going to insert it in, and just like before, I can resize it as needed, and then I can click and drag it to where I want on my slide. And if I go to present, the one downside with the YouTube videos is that they're not going to play automatically. You do have to go up and click the play button. However, from there, because it is an interval timer, it's going to keep doing increments of 5 minutes or whatever length you choose. So there, it's gonna do this 24 times. That's why it says 1 out of 24, but it's going to count down those 5 minutes. And once it gets to the end, it's gonna restart and do another 5 minutes. So you really only have to click play at the very beginning, but that might be another option for you if you wanna have just a singular slide. Another option is to have just 1 slide per center. So for example, I'm going to duplicate this slide. Let's go ahead and close out of YouTube. And maybe I want to have only one rotation at a time. So I might want to delete these columns, and maybe I kind of resize that. So I might have just this first one for 10 minutes. I'm gonna go ahead back in and insert in that 10-minute timer. Okay, we'll resize, put it where I want it to go, and under playback, I just want it to play automatically, not on repeat. Then I can duplicate and have it go then to the second rotation. So it could say rotation 2, and let's go ahead and copy these over. So I'm just gonna copy and paste those, and then I can duplicate that again, have rotation 3, and I'm gonna copy those and paste them. So now, rather than maybe having a cleanup slide, I want to display just each individual rotation, but I can still use those same steps as before to have it automatically transition from one to the next. That is it. That is how you can create automatic rotation boards in Canva. I really hope this was helpful for you. Again, if you're like, Michelle, I don't have time to create that from scratch, I have pre-made templates for you that you can purchase. They include all of those timer options that I showed you. But if you want to create your own and you just want access to those timer video files, I have those available as well. But keep in mind, you can follow this tutorial and do it all yourself and don't have to spend any money if that works better for you and your budget. But if you did find this video helpful, make sure you check out the link in the description box. I have a playlist with all my Canva videos on it. So there are a bunch of other tutorials and hacks that you should definitely check out. If this was helpful though, go ahead and give the video a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button and notification bell so you do not miss any future videos. As always, thank you for watching. I love you so much. Don't forget to put your positive pants on, and I will catch you in the next one.